have you here again today. It is a lovely, sunny summer's day outside, and I'm in a great mood. I'm not big on winter. Everything sort of seems to just freeze up and seize up. So I get really energized by the summer. And then one has to have mercy for my poor mother who had to put up with me as a very energetic child. Yes, I was this way all my life. And very impulsive and always had great ideas and an imagination, was going to do things and build things and make things and what have you not. And my mom was an incredible seamstress. I remember as children, we would bring her pictures that we'd cut out of books, but then we've got this sleeve and this collar and this piece here and this piece. And we'd come to her and we'd paste them together to make a new picture, and then give it to her and say to her, please make this for us. And she actually would. She designed the pattern and make the clothes for us. It was fabulous. And I suppose having that patience with having to deal with children like myself, my mom always taught us, you measure twice, so you cut once. You know, you only get one bite at the apple sometimes. Once that material's cut, it's cut. You know, if you've done it wrong, well, there's no way you're going to solve that. I also think it's about saving time. Is that if we start something properly and we are focused and in the moment and actually dealing with what's in front of us, once we've resolved it, it's unlikely to have any sort of effect on the rest of our day from a negative perspective. From a positive perspective, a lot, because it's been dealt with. It's one less thing that's going to come back to bite you in the butt. And so, in honor of my mother, I was thinking this morning, it was very interesting. I was watching a TED Talk, and it was by Daniel Goleman, the inventor or the originator of the theory of emotional intelligence. And he spoke of an incredibly interesting concept around when are we kind? What parameters need to be fulfilled for us to be kind or compassionate or care for each other? And the example that he raised was some students were given a sermon to prepare, and from the Bible, and half of them got the story of the Samaritan, where someone passed by a stranger and helped him, and the rest just got anything from the rest of the Bible. And then they were said, but you need to prepare the sermon, and then you need to go out and deliver it, but you've got to deliver it at another building. So they had to walk from one building to the next, and in doing so they had to walk past someone who was sitting clearly in need. Someone was hurt, or had some needed food or whatever, someone that clearly needed them to stop, and they didn't. Irrespective of whether they were giving the Samaritan sermon or whether they were giving another sermon from the Bible. And when asked, the feedback was they didn't stop because they were in a hurry. And that lets me think about this whole concept of measuring twice and cutting once. So often we don't use kindness and compassion in businesses because it takes too much time. Too much time. Don't have the time. Need to get my work done. As a leader, your job is to make sure that your employees are empowered to do what they need to do. So here's the big thing about it, is that if you deal with it immediately, mindfully, and in that moment, as I said, might not come back to bite you in the butt later in the day. If, however, you leave it and you don't deal with it immediately, and I'm talking about just seeing employees that are upset, disengaged, you can see they're sort of not focusing, you can see they're slightly distracted, but not just going up to them and saying, hey, it looks like something's the matter. Do you want to have a cup of coffee? Let's just talk about it. A couple of things happen. Firstly, the minimum damage that you will have is that that person will be distracted for the rest of the day and they won't produce the work that's required. Now, that doesn't sound like much, except I think that as businesses, when we take a look at the bottom line, we understand how important productivity is. So we need people to be productive. And by leaving them upset and distracted, doesn't help us, doesn't help productivity. We're not going to get from them what we need. The second problem that you have is that they're going to distract those around them. Why? Because there is going to be a person who's going to be empathic, caring, the office gossip. One never knows, but someone's going to want to know what's going on. So this person will inevitably be touched or touch the people around them because someone else will ask, what's the matter? What's going on? And how do we deal with this? The problem with this is that they then distract others. And depending on who they're distracting, this could actually take over that person's day. Because if they're very empathic, then they're going to want to interact with this person. They're going to want to solve the problem, whatever the case may be. Now you not only have an upset individual, but you've also got the rest of the team along with it. Now, the third concern here is that not only is the person upset, not only have they influenced the team, but if they're upset about something that's happening in the office that you are not aware of, something that they feel the business or you as a manager or another manager does wrong, they can actually whip up all the employees and get everyone upset. Now imagine the productivity issues. We're actually just having the question, asking the question and having the conversation could have brought this to light. Because there's nothing like people with unresolved concerns and they feel like they're not being heard. So you see, the important thing right now is that when we practice productive kindness, we can nip this in the bud by taking control of that situation and creating productivity by resolving an issue. That then means we are in control of how this plays out. Where if we decide not to interact, it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and, might be quite a huge issue before we get to deal with it. So I hear you say, but Innocent, I have a full enough day. I've not been raised in an organizational culture where compassion and kindness is a big thing. How do I deal with this? Well, I think there are 3 steps. The first is open yourself up to that discussion with that individual. And when I say open yourself up, I literally mean make that person the center of the conversation. Don't judge them while they're talking. Don't try and fix it while they're talking. Really just try and understand, where's this coming from? How does it make this person feel? And what would they think would be a solution that would help them feel better? The next thing I've already alluded to is to listen. Again, no judgment. Don't you try and fix it. Don't you try and respond. Don't you try and set it right. And don't you bring your values into it either. Because there's nothing worse than someone who's unburdening themselves and you say to them, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You'll see. It'll go away. Right? So they're in the center. So you're listening to them without bringing your own stuff in. And then lastly, what you can do is ask supportive questions. Don't grill them. Ask questions that's going to help you understand this whole dynamic. And while you are asking those questions, you're also helping them to find that clarity for themselves. You'll notice, I'm not expecting you to fix this. In fact, in many of these cases, it might be worth your while to refer the person to either HR, a therapist, if it's not a big deal, a coach. If it's not something that needs a therapist, a life coach, a business coach can help. Whatever supportive structures there are, because you don't have to solve this, but you have to give them a safe space where they can talk about their concerns without being judged and without it becoming a major issue in the office. So I hope you find this useful in how you practice productive kindness. I hope you realize that, yes, there's a couple of extra conversations you should be having a day, but maybe they will stop you from having to spend more time fixing larger issues down the line. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're watching us on YouTube, on the page, there is the like and subscribe button. Please click that along with a little notification bell so you can see our video every 2 weeks. Our 2 videos every week. And then if you're following us on LinkedIn or Facebook, lovely to have you here. We hope that you will be joining us again shortly. And then, as always, please comment, share, and let us know your thoughts. And then, until next week, I look forward to seeing you at the Performance Café.